So today we're going to do a quick video on making tallow. We did this in one of our last videos on making pemmican, but this is just going to be a quick version of making the tallow. So for the tallow, we're going to use the fat from around the internal organs of the cow. If you go to your butcher, you can get this relatively cheap. They'll call it suet mix. We're going to use it and render it down in a crock pot with no water in this particular process. Some people use salt, some people use water. We've gotten away with just using the crock pot itself on really low heat and rendering this down and melting it and clearing it out. So the way that we do it, if you can get this ground, it's even better. I'm just going to cut this up into small chunks. I'm processing my way through this to make sure there's no blood, any little bit of blood I'm going to try to get out of there. I don't want that. That's going to leave a beef smell and taste after we're done, which we don't want, because what we're going to be doing with this particular batch of tallow right now is we're making tallow soap. In the next month or so, hopefully we'll get a video made on making tallow soap. But there's a lot of uses for tallow. It can be skin salves, lip balm, medicated ointments, anything you use cooking oil for, French fries, deep fried eggs. If you're going to use butter, tallow is a good replacement for it. Butter's getting to be pretty expensive. This is a fairly quick process to make this down. And when it renders down and you clarify it, there's no smell to it. It's a nice clean fat. So I'll process through this, and then we'll come back in a little while after I get the crock pot filled up, and then we'll start rendering this down real slowly. So that batch is cut up in relatively decent chunk size. You can come in close and take a look here. But that is crystal white. There's no red in it. We've taken the time to sort out any little tiny pieces of blood or meat or anything in that batch. We find that if you get it all out now and get it in there clean, that we don't have to do multiple boils to get it clean. And when it's in that hard form, we don't have an awful meat smell. It's totally odorless. So we've got that in the pot. No water. We do a no water method, but you want to be very careful when you do that, because you want to, as this is heating up, the bottom of that crock pot is going to get hot. So you're going to want to stir frequently so that does not melt to the bottom and burn on, because if it gets a burnt taste or burnt, it's going to smell funny. So keep working that as it starts to melt, and eventually it'll start turning into a liquid, and then it will get faster and faster and faster. So what we did end up cutting off, we're still not going to waste. This is some trimmings from another batch that we did, and I will just throw them in there, and we're actually going to use that fat for trapping other small animals like muskrat, mink, otter, stuff like that. So nothing's going to go to waste. We'll save that. I'll store it in the refrigerator so it doesn't go bad or rancid. When that gets up and boiling, we'll come back and make sure that you start on low. Never go on high. You don't want to burn this. It's a slow process. Don't rush it. The longer you take, the more quality you're going to get. So really low, stir a lot. And when it starts getting liquidy, we'll come back and take a look at it.
Now the fat is about half liquid, so we're gonna scoop it out with our ladle and strain it through a paper towel and just a mesh sieve into a mason jar. I'm going to scoop all of this out and then return what's not rendered back to the crock pot so it can continue. You can use a cheesecloth to strain it, but paper towels work just as good and they're cheaper.
So we're down to the end of this batch. We've got most of it processed down. You can see there's some that didn't melt all the way, and we're not going to try to get it all. It's a yellowish liquid right now, but when it solidifies and cools off, that's going to be nice milky white. So we got the last little bit in there. We're just going to gently push down on that and try to get the last few remaining drops through there. Now, out of that bag that we ended up starting with, that's what we got left over that didn't boil down at that heat and melt. So we'll save that for trapping season, and we'll let the rest solidify, and tomorrow we'll come back and make some soap with it.